Hello, my name is Regina Stanley, and I'm going to talk to you about connections between poverty and how it affects education, and then I'm going to talk to you about Head Start, which is where I did my service learning, and talk about that. Anyways, children that are living in poverty situations are at a disadvantage when it comes to school, and there's been lots and lots of research on it. And poverty has many reasons that affects education. Some of those are, of course, the environment. They could be living in extremely bad neighborhoods. They could be living in poverty, bad nutrition. Sometimes it has to do with the parents, whether it's a single parent or two parents working all the time. If you have a single parent, they don't have a lot of time to come and do the homework with the kids. They're trying to work, and there's not a lot of time to help out with the kids, to help them get ready for starting kindergarten and school. Also, it could be a bad situation. There could be drugs in the house, there could be substance abuse, there could be mental or physical abuse, or it could just be, a bad environment. Or it could be two perfectly good parents who are working all the time, and that, takes away from time for your kids because you're trying to fit in doing housework and paying your bills and working all the time. And the more kids you have, the more complicated it becomes. And so sometimes, it's not parents' fault. It's just, they're not as good at preparing their children for school. And so also, if you have non-English speakers in the house, a lot of those people, a lot of people do not want to, they're not speaking English in the house. The children are speaking another language. These kids are coming into school and they don't even know how to speak English. And so that can cause a lot of problems because they're literally coming in and they, don't have any English at all. And so there's been lots of research done in this, and most children who are in these situations that don't come to some kind of program to get help are usually lagging behind in reading, math, and social behaviors. And that, that becomes a problem. The main studies have shown no matter where it is in the world, it could be here, it could be England, Europe, wherever, if children are in low income, they have problems with education. And of course, if the poverty level is even lower than it is in the United States, then there's even more problems and they're even further behind. And so there's been many studies, and one of the, most of the studies that I researched, of course, because I did my service learning at Head Start, had to do with Head Start and its effects. And Head Start has been found to have lasting results as far as performance, all the way up until, they tracked up till third grade for the younger kids in tests, and their ability to, speak better, perform on tests, and be ready to start kindergarten. And so they've also done tests with adults, and Head Start has been found that adults that went to Head Start had better educations. They usually finished high school, they even did college, had better job opportunities, and were less likely to be arrested or, have any kind of really bad criminal records. And so, children, who do Head Start have done rather well. Now, there have been critics, of course, about the Head Start program. And a lot of them say that they call it what's called the Head Start fade, which means that by, about up to third grade, they start seeing a lag where these kids are, where before they were performing good and they were doing good tests and they were right on grade level, where it seemed to have faded and it seems like they're not doing as well. But a lot of people can argue that these are kids who are living in low-income housing or low-income areas, and the schooling for these are not nearly as good as a middle or a higher class education, those areas. And so a lot of times they want to say that the school is to blame because they're not getting the same quality of education they would at another school, and also they're not getting the same quality they got at Head Start. And so also, a lot of people want to get rid of it altogether because actually Head Start is an $8 billion a year business, and that's a lot of money. But I think a lot of people believe, and I believe too, that the things that Head Start does for these children outweighs, it's something that can't be tested or researched. It's like what they gain, the experience they gain, and the opportunity to do better in their lives and their families' lives. And of course, as you've seen, it continues on. It's just not through school. It can help with jobs and college and just give you better opportunities in life, when you're starting off at poor. I think that those things can't be researched and they can't be measured and tested. And I think that, the Head Start program is a good program and it shouldn't be just thrown away just because they don't have hard evidence. Some of them anyways. Next, I'm going to talk to you about Head Start itself. I've done Head Start twice now for my service learning, and I've truly enjoyed it. I love it. It's a great experience. And, of course, a lot of you might wonder what Head Start is. Of course, I wish I could have gone in there and filmed it or done interviews, but none of that's allowed because, of course, it deals with a bunch of children, so I wasn't able to do any of that. So you're just going to have to listen to me talk about it. The history of Head Start is started in 1964 by President Lyndon B. Johnson. He decided he wanted to do a war on poverty, and of course research was done, some of what I had already talked about, showing a definite connection between poverty and education problems. And so the Head Start program was started actually in 1965 as a summer program. It was only an 8-week program, but it did so well that by 1968 Congress decided to make it a year-long program. And actually the presidents have had, almost all presidents have had something to do with Head Start. I'm just going to touch on a few. In 1975, Jimmy Carter decided to incorporate bilingual and bicultural studies for all the states. 2007, Bush went ahead and just did like an overhaul. He decided that he wanted to improve the quality of Head Start, their teachers. Some of these changes were helping with homeless children and going ahead and making it so the teachers had better quality teachers. They have to have either a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in teaching or some kind of special program like that. And then in 2009, Obama made it so that there was more than 64,000 more slots open for Head Start programs, which is really good. And so since 1965, it has helped over 3 million children. And it's also, all in all 50 states. It helps migrant and seasonal workers, Native Americans, Alaskan Americans. It is also in the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. So this Head Start's all over the place. It's one of the longest running programs to help with the problem of poverty in the United States. So it's been around a while. What is Head Start? Head Start is a federal program that is mainly to prepare children for starting kindergarten. It's to get them kindergarten ready. But it also has other things that it does. They also have human services. They have dental services. They give dental treatment. They teach about nutrition. They have job training for parents. I mean, not all these things are available everywhere, but, depending on the need. They also have special, if you have special needs, your family has special needs, they will help you. They teach English to non-English speakers. And of course, then they have a program that's also for infants, toddlers, and pregnant women. So literally, your kids can go to Head Start from birth to 5 years old, 6 years old, whenever they're ready for kindergarten. So, there's lots of opportunities there for people. Eligibility is based on income. The family must earn less than 130% of federal poverty level. So it's, really low. And the only thing I can find wrong with Head Start is that unfortunately there is limited space because they only have, so much space. And so, not all children who are in low income can get into these programs, which is unfortunate. But, that's just unfortunately the way it is in life. I wanted to talk some about my personal experiences with Head Start. Like I said, I've done it twice. It was a great opportunity. Mostly, you're dealing with children who are in extremely, poverty situations, and I can relate. I have spent a good majority of my life in poverty, and so I know what it's like to live in those neighborhoods, and it is rough. And so, a lot of these kids, some of them have special needs. They have behavior problems, social issues. But some are, non-English speakers. They're coming from houses where no one's speaking English in the home. but a lot of these kids too are like very smart, and they're very on it, and they're, you know, going to do great. And so I'm not to say, you know, I don't believe that just because you don't have money that, you know, you don't have the opportunity to do well in school, because I don't believe that for a second. But it's hard, you know, it just makes it harder for these kids to get the education training that they need to start kindergarten. And so that's what this whole program is about. It's about getting them ready for school and making sure when they start school that they're where they need to be, and they're on task, and you know, they can perform well, and it gives them that extra boost that they need, you know, to do well in school. Just a little bit, you know, most of the kids are picked up by bus. Some people do drive their kids and drop them off, but most are brought on bus because these parents don't have gas money, or they're working, or some of them don't even have cars. And so one day when I was working, the bus did not even show up, and literally there was only 2 kids in class. And so that shows you how important, you know, the transportation is for these children, because without the bus, you know, we didn't have a class that day. I ended up going and teaching in another class. They're served 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch, and the kids are allowed to go and have seconds or thirds. And that's great, because some of these children are only getting this breakfast and this lunch. They may not be eating the rest of the day or on the weekends when they're not in school. So it's very important that they get the food they need, and it's very nutritional food, and it's good. And the classroom is set up just like I was in the pre-kindergarten classes. So the classes are set up like kindergarten classes. It's very organized. There's structured time for, you know, going to the bathroom, eating, playtime. They have, you know, activity areas where the kids can go and they have free time, free play. They go outside to get, you know, exercise and air. So it's very structured. It's very, you know, they have like activities they do every day that help with motor skills and learning and, you know, all of that. And so, and the teachers are very nice, and their helpers are very nice. And they're very hands-on with the kids. You know, if they need to sit down with them on the floor or help them, or if they have a problem, it's very open and nice, and everybody's good. And then even with the kids, you know, there was a few kids in our class who didn't speak English and very well, and so they would come in once a day, and they would take those kids over to the side and give them like 20 minutes of extra time to go over their English and help them with that. And during my time there, I did some prep work for, you know, cutting up stuff or whatever needed to be done. And I did some paperwork, but mainly I worked with the kids, because there were kids that, you know, had behavior problems, or they needed special help or whatever. And so they put me in charge of kind of working with those kids. And of course I love working with those kids because they're great. And so it was a really good experience. And, you know, it was sad though sometimes, because some of the kids, you know, you could tell they just loved being there. They really did love being there. And like, I know this one little girl, she just, every day she had to go home, she'd cry. And so it's like, you wonder, you know, what's going on at home. I mean, you know, it could be nothing, but you just wonder, you know, what's going on at home where she doesn't want to leave. But it could just be structure. Kids love structure. It could just be that it's such a structured environment, and she's got friends there. And I mean, I know, you know, when we lived in low-income housing, it's like sometimes I couldn't even let my kids go outside because it was just too dangerous. You know, they couldn't go to the play yard. You worried about them getting beat up going to take the trash out, you know, or finding needles, or there'd be a drug dealer right down the street. I mean, so sometimes, you know, they don't have the opportunity to play with kids in their own neighborhood or even go outside. And so, you know, it could be just that. I hope that's what it is. But I mean, that's all I have to say. I really did enjoy working there and working with the kids, and it was a great experience. And, you know, if any of y'all ever get an opportunity to work for Head Start, I you know, especially if you're going to be working with kids in any aspect, I highly recommend it. And it was a great place to go and do community, you know, do my service learning. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed my video. But anyways, thank you.